Thank you for staying tuned. 6 months ago, OPEC agreed to pump more oil to prevent prices spiking to $100 a barrel. Now the group is talking about cutting output to stop prices crashing below $50. Members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries are meeting today in Vienna. They will discuss how to stabilize the world market after U.S. crude prices plunged 22% in November, marking the worst month since the global financial crisis in October 2008. Well, let's look at this plus other burning economic issues in the in the commodities market space. I'm being joined by one of the research analysts with financial derivatives company, Mukhtar Jimoh. Hello, Mukhtar. Good morning. Thank you very much
Thank you for joining us.
Now, top on your burning economic issue, of course, is about the global oil market, talking about OPEC's meeting today.
Yeah.
Can you paint a possible scenario of what OPEC could do at this meeting?
So the OPEC and its ally, they are scheduled to have their last meeting of the year today. And the consensus is that they are going to agree to an output cut. However, there's been discrepancy about the magnitude of output. For instance, initially the market was expecting about 1.3 million barrel to 1.5 million barrel per day. So that ended up as at the close of yesterday. It pushed Brent prices up marginally to about $62 per barrel. But now there's a talk about Russia not being too committed to reduce its own output, because initially we had about 300,000 barrel per day. That was what's been proposed for Russia to reduce, but Russia is gunning out for about 150,000 barrels per day. So that has sent another dynamics to the market, and currently Brent price is already down by 0.52% to $61.24 per barrel.
Now, we saw President Trump's tweet by kind of putting pressure on OPEC not to cut output. He says the world does not want to see or need higher oil prices. What do you make of Trump's tweet, and how do you think that perhaps Trump's position is going to drive discussion at the meeting today?
Yes, I think President Trump's tweet is just protecting the U.S. interest, but more so Saudi Arabia, which is one of the major powers in the OPEC, would want to protect its own interest. So Saudi Arabia is in a side position, playing a balancing act between its ally, which is the U.S., and its own economy. So we do I believe that the output cut is going to be implemented. Nonetheless, you know that United States is just trying to push the agenda because they have sanctions on Iran, and President Trump is trying to create a stable market so that when they begin to enforce the sanctions on Iran, prices would not prop up too much. That's what's happening there.
Now, another issue OPEC perhaps would have to deal with is the planned exit from the group by Qatar. Yes. What would this mean for OPEC and, of course, the global oil market?
So the exit of Qatar is not likely to have a significant impact, because Qatar is a French player. They produce about 600,000 barrels per day. So I believe that's why they are talking about countries like Nigeria and Libya to become more actively involved in the OPEC cut, because if you recall, in 2006 when they met and concluded to reduce output by 1.8 million barrel per day, Nigeria and Libya were exempted because of the issues we have with our production. But now Nigeria's production has been relatively stable, although it declined.
So you think Nigeria is now ready to join the output cuts?
Yes, Nigeria is ready to join the output cut. That's it. Because although our production has declined to about 1.75 million barrels as of last month, but what we're saying is even at 1 point, I don't think we ever met our output quota of 1.8. So we are already at our optimal production. level
Well,
now.
some analysts believe that yes, though Qatar yes, does not produce much in terms of looking at the general output for the global oil market, but then as OPEC as a group, for Qatar to exit doesn't really tell good of OPEC, and perhaps some other members may decide to follow suit.
Yes, there is an argument for that because it's going to create some systematic risks, but we need to understand that Qatar's reason for exiting OPEC is connected to its drive to become a major to focus on natural gas, and which Qatar has a large influence on the market.
And then the Iraqis OPEC seem to be OPEC's biggest wild card. Now, Iraq doesn't seem to want to be part of the production cut. What will happen if OPEC agrees to cut production without Iraq?
What's going to happen is we might not see compliance level of like 6 months ago when oil prices were spiking. So that's what's going to happen in that case. But nonetheless, the commitment of Russia, which is a major player, is going to help prop up the prices nonetheless.